Hello everybody, I am back at taking a look at another Ganzo here. Now a couple of weeks ago I was talking about this guy and kind of gushed about it a little bit. This is the FH922 and well, here is the FH923 and about the only thing that they really have in common is black G10 and textured kind of thing. This was a little bit more of that Kaiser kind of basket weave thing. This one is much more peel-ply a la Spyderco kind of thing here, which, hey, that's the G10 that I'm used to. So interesting that they've done that, since they haven't really done that with a whole lot of their other knives in the past. This one, to me, does look a lot like the FH61, I believe it is. That one is a little more funky Tonto kind of thing, but the blade kind of profile is fairly the same on it. However, this one is much larger. That's why I actually have this one, and I didn't pick up that FH61 because, well, it just looked too small to me. Speak of that length, yeah, we're about basically right at 3 1/3 of an inch there. And really, really nice and tall. This guy, because it's an FH series, yep, it's in D2 steel. And this one is ground super, super thin. I did end up sharpening it a little bit, but it didn't take much effort to actually get it down to where I wanted it to be at 17. I'm guessing it was probably sharpened somewhere right around 18.5 degrees. Somewhere right around there. But yeah, I have sharpened it up quite considerably. This thing is kind of scary sharp at the moment. Just kind of the way that I like them to be. But yeah, as you can see here, we do have, I wouldn't call it a trailing point necessarily, but the point is above kind of that flat kind of area that you end up. What am I trying to say? The point is above the pivot there, so it is a little bit of a trailing point kind of thing. It obviously does reminisce a bit of a clip point, but it doesn't have a swedge there. It just kind of curves a little bit. And because of that, this thing actually does a really good job of using a lot of that belly if you're cutting down onto something. That works out great if you're trying to, I don't know, cut rope on a cutting board or something like that, if that's something that you feel that you like to do or something like that. It also feels pretty good if you're cutting down onto, you know, again, like a board or something like that, if you're going through cardboard or whatnot, because you don't have that tip that will end up reaching there, but a nice area that you can rock on it. The handle on this guy is, it's a little strange. It's not quite neutral. It does have a bit of a beak there at the back end, but still pretty darn comfortable for me and my giant ham fists, I guess, as I would say. They're not the largest in the world by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a football player or anything crazy, but they are an extra large size as far as gloves go and all that sort of good stuff. Which, hey, that's nice. The pocket clip on this guy is basically what they've used on almost all of their other FH series knives. See, I have here the FH91, and you can see, yeah, it's the same pocket clip there. It does have a lot in common with Civivi's deep carry clip. They're pretty darn similar. These ones do seem, at least depending on the substrate that it's actually mounted onto, just a little bit stronger as far as tensile strength, but as far as the flexibility, they're about the same. So, yeah, I would, well, I could probably pull out a Civivi. That's a Sencut, that's not a Civivi. They're both purple, which is why that kind of... Oh, where is this little sucker? I just had him out earlier. And it looks like I put it back in the wrong location. Aha. There we are. Okay, so yeah, this is a Civivi with their pocket clip there. Yep. And yeah, because they're long, they have that same kind of flexibility there, which to me, I'm not incredibly thrilled with in general. It just means you have a little bit higher chance of damaging one of these clips if you catch it on something like a box as you're walking past, if you've ever done any inventory management in a smaller warehouse kind of situation or whatnot, then yeah, that'll mangle some clips. So there is particularly that, but this guy doesn't seem incredibly uncomfortable in my hand because of the position of the deep carry there, that fold, which looks like I probably need a secondary light for there. There we go. You know, I can feel it there on my pinky, but it's not feeling super out there and pronounced. So using it in this hammer grip sort of style, not altogether uncomfortable, which is great. That's something that I do struggle with quite a bit with a lot of deep carry clips. You can see we do have quite a decent amount of lock bar access here, and it's scalloped out. No texture on it, but yeah, as always, super nice and easy to actuate and all that sort of good stuff. We can see we do have a little plate here. That means that the pocket clip on this thing is actually reversible for those lefties out there. Fantastic to see. It does seem like it's something that they have been doing a little bit recently. As you can see, here's the here's the FH91, FH921, and FH922, and all three of these, if I actually had them in frame, do actually offer that for lefties. So that's fortunate for, you know, those 10 or 12% of the people out there who that's for. The detent on this thing is pretty darn good. Nicely tuned out of the factory. I really can't seem to fail it. Maybe if I had the, if I just put the absolute flabbiest part of my finger on there and just kind of lazily do that, yeah. But any kind of normal deployment, this thing is coming out. I like this thing quite a bit. Like I was saying, it does remind me quite a bit of the FH61, which I kind of wanted, but still, in general, the handle on it was just a little too small for me, so I didn't end up holding on to it. But this one does seem to scratch that itch. It has steel bearings in there, not ceramic. That's certainly one way that they cut down on some costs there. The action on it is still super nice, and just a little bit better after I've taken them apart to clean some things up and whatnot in there. No rust on them or anything like that. However, the bearings that they do use are steel, and they are bearing steel, which a lot of times is a tool steel of some sort. And that is definitely the case here. There is a stainless steel ball bearing steel. Hey, it's 154 cm. You've probably heard of it before, but it's pretty darn expensive to actually manufacture for like bearing cages for knives. So just about nobody does it. And, you know, ceramic bearings are out there that are the same or probably just a little less expensive and, you know, just as durable, and they don't rust at all. So that would probably be the reason for that. But, yeah, how about if I do get some size comparisons out of the way. Since this is a cheaper knife, I'll go ahead and start out with the rat number 1 there. And you can see that, yeah, basically with the sharpened blade edge and everything, we're right around the same. Obviously the handle's a little bit shorter there. Here's my elephant man of a Benchmade 940. And we can see that, yeah, that handle does do a pretty darn good job of blade to handle length on there. Here we got the Spyderco PM2. And Well, since we're on the cheap thing, there's the K-Bar Dozier, which, hey, just a touch smaller handle, but yeah, much less blade length overall. So this thing does a pretty darn good job of maximizing that blade to handle ratio on there. And yet, that tip, I guess if I dig my fingernail in there, I can get to the tip on that, but I'm not going to be getting to it any other way unless I'm absolutely trying. It's also decently buried into the top, basically right there behind that flipper sort of guy. It's just kind of a little bit up there. It's something that I generally don't have any problems with, but if you have like a very, very slim finger or something like that, it might get you. I don't know. I don't generally have that problem, but I know there are people who do. I guess something else that's pretty nice to cover there is the sharpening choil on here. And the plunge grind on it is very gradual, but since the blade is quite tall, you really don't have too many problems with getting a smile or anything going on that. So that's pretty darn good to see. Let's see, I can also do some measurements on this guy. Start out with the weight. This thing isn't exactly a little featherweight design. Yeah, 4.61 or so ounces, 131 grams or so. So yeah, it's not a featherweight. Maybe more of a bantamweight kind of a knife there. But still, very, very solid feeling. It does have skeletonized liners on both sides, so that's nice to see. We do have basically T6 construction around here, except for, of course, T8 on the pivot. It does come with some Loctite in there. I don't think it's permanent Loctite, but it is a little bit stiffer than your standard blue Loctite sort of thing. It wasn't anything where I felt uncomfortable unscrewing it without doing anything to it, but there was some resistance there, so I guess keep that in mind if you do plan to disassemble this guy. I don't really think it's necessary for me to do this. I mean, I have taken apart plenty of other Ganzos in the past. They all kind of look the same there. They got those bearings with the steel in there, and yeah, you got the liners that are all skeletonized. So that's about really everything that I can come up with here to talk about with this guy. It's a pretty large departure from the last one that I was just talking about, the FH923, which had a much more neutral handle and quite a bit more belly to the blade, almost CJRB Rhea-ish or something. But still a very, very practical design as long as you are not looking to access the tip down onto a board without having a significant wrist flex to be able to get that down there. For me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the point's really up there in case I want to poke into something to start cutting, which is something I often end up doing. Unless I'm doing cardboard, I'll usually start from the top on something like that. But a lot of plastic and stuff, yeah, I will poke and start to cut. And that works out super great for me. These things seem to be creeping up just a little tiny bit in price. At the time when I picked this one up, it was finally listed on White Mountain Knives along with this guy, in case you are actually interested in that. That's a much more reliable place to be able to pick that one up from than some super sketchy, possibly Amazon sellers or through AliExpress or something like that. So that's pretty good. But I have seen that these things do list for a bit over $30, which is a little bit more than I've paid for some of the other ones. Now, obviously, some of that's just due to the economy is going up and all that, or inflation and all that sort of stuff. And Probably a lot of manufacturing does have to cut back a bit on the amount of operable hours that they can do. So yeah, I mean the prices end up going in there. But I mean through White Mountain Knives with their discount for using different codes depending on who you might like to support or whatnot, then yeah, they're just a little over $30, whereas I'm used to paying, I guess, somewhere around like 28 or something like that for some of these other ones. This is the 91 that, for whatever reason, me and just about everyone else who've got these things, and I think it just has a lot to do with the weight of the blade, but just has stupid drop shutty action, which is ridiculous for a knife under $30. All right, anyway, yeah, I've been rambling way too much. This guy, yeah, I do basically kind of think of it as a larger FH61, even though it's not quite Tonto-esque. The sharpened edge profile is very, very similar. Just, you know, a little bit larger handle for, you know, the people who need a larger handle. Some people really, really like the FH61. I just couldn't use it as a full-size knife because it was basically a 3-finger knife and not super comfortable for me like that. So, all right, yeah, FH923. Woo, super nice and cheap. All right, as always, I appreciate y'all. And have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.